Hello? 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 Is it coming through? Is the stream coming through? YouTube events. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Does the stream ever start on time? No? I mean, it's fake truth. That's sort of the point, right? You can write something. Anybody can write anything. You can write it down, and then somebody else sees it. They don't. They can't know where you were coming from. Basically, there's no way to know exactly what is like another person's intention. What's in their heart. There's no way to know. How's everybody doing out there? I'm gonna try to chat. Trying the chat. Well, looks like it is working. So, anyways, I was looking at this asteroid thing today. Let's pull it up really quick. Something about this number, right? 1,100 feet. Friday the 13th, 2029. Right? These dates are just. It's also symbolic. That's right. For why Friday the 13th? It's a pretty important date, and they say it's a lucky day for scientists. Yeah, they're saying basically, don't worry about it. The asteroid called Apophis, I'm guessing. And this name is like, right, that's why I had the Wikipedia Wiktionary. Apophis, an evil snake god who tries to devour the sun every night. Also, an asteroid formerly thought to be on a collision course with Earth. They, I guess, found this a while back, and when they found it at first, they thought it had a 3% chance of hitting the planet, and they were like, kind of freaking out. But it's I guess not super high up on the list. There are, I guess, a couple thousand asteroids on the do not call list. The possibly gonna fuck us all up list. So I don't know what's so special about this one, but for some reason it's in the news today. And I was reading another article. I guess I didn't save it, but yeah, talking about how they're not really sure it's gonna be affected by Earth's gravity because it is flying so close, like within 19,000 miles, which I guess is pretty close. And they're not sure how it's gonna react after it gets a little, perturbed by Earth's gravitational field. So, right. They're saying it's a 1 in 100,000 chance now that it's gonna hit Earth, but that's still like, if you know probability, that's like those are pretty good odds. 1 in 100,000. Can you just die? The ads just are able to creep in at every moment. Oh, actually, that's another thing that's in the news. Just wanted to check out this animation. Yeah, the Firefox got updated and all of the extensions are working. It somehow broke all of the extensions, which, yeah, also is just kind of curious. It's never happened before, as far as I know. Right. So yeah, it's definitely flying pretty close, as you can see from this Mazda ad, how close it is. We're just gonna close this, but right, just very interesting. I think coming at this really critical time, Friday the 13th, 2029, approaching some serious high craziness at that point. I would assume 10 years from now. I mean, can you picture it? Even there's too many variables at this point. It's so hard to even project that far out. But some form of chaos will be reigning, I'm sure. And yeah, asteroid. But what is the point? I don't know. What is the point of running stories like this? Get people just freaked out in general? And why so symbolic with the numerology? What is it about the numbers that they need to be so symbolic about? Yeah, I was into this yesterday about the air raid sirens. I was doing some more research, and I think it is pretty interesting that this, as of this year, there's still over 70% of them still up, and there's just quite a few of them. They're all over the place. I guess there's not 1,000, but right? I guess 200, 225, and most of them are still up. You can definitely get the message out. And they haven't really been used for anything citywide, but I did find an article about some art project where they had some weird like choir music coming out of this. Uh, so it's obviously like still in operation, and that was from a couple years ago. So if they're still wired for sound, if they still are set up and everything, it's just kind of weird. I think I don't quite get it. Right, and I guess it's not just California. It's all over the city. And Brentwood Theater, right? You could go down this rabbit hole for a while. For damn sure. This is just the article about that composer. Ghostly Note. Unusual vocal piece by Australian composer, right? And why did they get this Australian part of the year's AXS festival? Cabinet of Curiosities. But so somehow they got access to this thing. Right, 50s, 60s. You can read up on the storyline of those whole things. I just, I'm going to focus more on the fact that, like, what, why, and the symbolism surrounding what and why. This I thought was super interesting. This lady is kind of boring. And my ad blocker's broken because all the extensions are broken. I just want to find this one part where she talks about the symbols. Right, so there's apparently, and she like dug around and lived in these caves. So she didn't live in the caves, but she was hanging out in caves a bunch, and basically found out that according to their numbers, like between 10,000 and 40,000 years ago, they saw these same 32 symbols basically everywhere, and some were a little more localized and some were a little more general, but they were continuous. And right, that's not something that I had heard before. And some of these symbols are definitely going to be pretty familiar, pretty standard things, but her whole sort of hypothesis is that they had this is sort of the proto language. They would draw these symbols and they would have some sort of meaning, but not quite be language yet. They could still communicate though through these shapes, and there was, I guess, sort of an agreed upon understanding of what these shapes mean or meant, right? And these are just the tunnels they could get to. This is mostly in Europe, I guess she was saying.
There are only 32 geometric signs. Only 32 signs across a 30,000 year time span and the entire continent of Europe. That is a very small number. Now, if these were random doodles or decorations, we would expect to see a lot more variation. But instead, what we find are the same signs repeating across both space and time. Some signs start out strong before losing popularity and vanishing, while other signs are later inventions. But
I mean, I don't know. She's kind of boring and less new, but interesting nonetheless. These signs, some sort of proto language, and right, who knows when they're actually from? They're saying between 10 and 40,000. That's still like quite some time ago for that's basically like civilization already happening 40,000 years ago, according to this lady. So, think about that. Alternative timeline, people. And just to take a moment to talk about the fear mongering. Like, what do you guys think? You think North Korea is actually a threat to the world? Is Kim Jong Un really running that place? Is he calling all the shots? Is he the one that fired these short range projectiles? Not missiles, just projectiles. Apparently. It says apparently. North Korea has apparently fired unidentified short range projectiles off its east coast. Like, how could you possibly be more vague? They've apparently unidentified short range. Like, did they throw some rocks or something? And right, it's been a while since they tested any missiles. That's what I'm sort of saw this because North Korea hasn't been in the news in a while, and it just feels sort of scheduled. Didn't you feel the scheduling? We just moved out of some other sort of. I mean, who even remembers what happens anymore? There was other news yesterday and the day before that, but I know I haven't heard about North Korea in quite some time. And it's just interesting. I don't know what the plan is there. Are we going to kill them? Are we going to team up with China to kill them? Because that would give us like a good reason to hang out with China more. If they helped us destroy North Korea, maybe get South Korea in there too. I mean, what would it take? They'd probably kill some people. I don't know what they're planning, basically. Still. But that's what it makes it feel like, right? That they're making themselves a target. They're evil, totalitarian regime. That's right. I was just hearing on the radio that they're. No, that was China. Never mind. It's rough out there, basically. But what do you think? What do you think they're planning? I mean, it can't be anything good when there's unidentified short-range projectiles in the works. So, anyways, those were sort of my main points. I'm going a little out of order today because I believe I had some shots. From the day. Let me just look. This is happening in real time. Oh, yeah, I got some octagons. Let me just upload these real quick. I mean, my hope, if anybody's actually listening to this, was to actually interact with humans that were possibly watching the stream, so we could discuss some of these ideas, and the plan was sort of to talk for half an hour and talk about some stuff, and then yeah, see what you guys thought about it. So, obviously I've been getting a couple comments. Love to get your comments and check out the comments and see what you guys are thinking, because I think that really is the only way to figure this all out, is to talk about it, because it's certainly not written down anywhere. Because I wrote down that this stream is starting every night at midnight, and that's not true. It just is straight up not true. And I know it's not true, but I wrote it anyways, and I'm leaving it up as sort of, right? That's what I'm talking about here. It's fake. It's all fake. Or it can be. It can be possibly all fake. So, right? Talk a lot about shapes. Or do I? I think a lot about shapes. I often question why things are shaped the way they are. Whether it's a practical reason. Definitely willing to admit things are done for practical reasons. Or is it done for a symbolic reason? Is it done for something even more powerful than that? Does it have to be either or? Could it be both? And so I ask you, why are these things to catch the extra drink that people spill? Why are they octagons? Why is that? What does the octagon mean to you? I'm starting to figure out what it means to me, or what, at least what I think it is supposed to mean to the people in the know, basically, because right, once you start to develop an eye, you really see these things all over the place, and right, you definitely want to check your confirmation bias, and this was I would say a total pitfall for driving yourself crazy, and also sounding like you're crazy. It's a pretty nuts thing to but if you really have looked into this stuff, you know how powerful symbols are, how powerful the rudimentary shapes can be, right? And this would be a testament to that. I would say these symbols. It's not just art culture. It's not just the Illuminati. It's not just any of that. It goes so much deeper than I think any of us really can comprehend or know about. I mean, unless time travel is real and you went back and checked it out, that's definitely a possibility. So much time travel fiction. Here's the triangle, the downward facing triangle. The cross. Right. The Y sign, the zigzag, the serpent. All these going back 40,000 years by their accounts, right? I thought the first civilized things were happening around 6,000. That was the word, right? So how civilized could these people be if they had developed this common language? And how is it used today? Because if things are that powerful, they stick around. Stuff that works sticks around. You keep using them because it works. And I'd say that, right, you really got to think of all these things. Language, right? Why do you see this as lemonade? How can you even decipher that? And how your brain does it a lot quicker than it recognizing all the little curves and shapes. You see an L, you see an E. These are complicated shapes, though. But you don't read, at least depending on your age or many other factors, right? You should be able to look at this and say coconut tea, Jamaica drink. Like, you should just see that and not be counting it letter by letter unless you're like learning the language. Because the point is that you learn it first and it goes then deep, deep into your subconscious. It's incredibly powerful. These collections of patterns. And do not underestimate the power of your mind to decipher these way faster than you're consciously able to grasp. You know what I mean? You don't consciously spell it out and say downward angle thing, sideward. Oh, it's a L. Okay, E. Right? I just said E. I can't even like trace. It's a bracket thing with the sideways guy. And then you're looking at this and you're like, well, that's kind of weird. Abby form. Like, that's a pretty specific sort of bracket thing, But like, if this means E to us, like, what could this have possibly meant? I think it could have meant a lot. All of these shapes. And so, all right, I'm just going to keep hammering home. If you have any denial about how powerful symbols can be, especially in media, film and television, news, media, everything, literally everything, we filter through our brains through this symbolic language that is older than like everything, basically. So, right? Let's have a serious look at this stuff. Just a quick update on the weather. It was pretty clear, but you had these sort of wispy guys going. And I'm thinking, yeah, there really just wasn't a lot going on today. And this is sort of maybe the residue from, if we're paying attention at all, the day before was really heavy, sort of already covering. So this is sort of the dissipation, I think. It's clearing out, and there really wasn't anything going on, at least when I was checking it out. And that's definitely a big difference to yesterday. And I would note that the weather was the same, basically same weather. So why, if it's just condensation, would it be different? Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that, unless anybody has any questions. But I have a feeling like this is just, not futile, but this is like the ending phase of actual being able to talk about stuff like this. This was, you set up a free channel, you can just say what you want, And as long as I'm showing you this, this is a picture I took myself. I'm just saying words. I should be able to do this as long as I want, right? I should be able to. Well, I guess there are some limits. Don't talk about violence and don't incite violence. I guess it's a pretty good rule. But are you allowed to incite violence ironically? Right? I just feel like everything that comes out of your mouth these days needs to be filtered. You really got to double check and see, how is this going to read to this group. Is this something that I'm allowed to say? So even if I'm just mostly talking to myself, I want to give it a shot because how else can you hash anything out if we're all just quiet and just watching? How can you question anything then, really? If you're doing it silently, is it really questioning? Think about it.